What's up, guys? Welcome to part 1 of my 2-part series on how to apply to dental school. I'm going to give you a tutorial on how to use AADSAS, tell you how I got an extra letter of recommendation, and show you the new section that's in this year's application. So watch till the end to get all the details. To start off the video, I thought I would just talk about what the ADEA AADSAS even is. Most of you probably already know what this is, but I thought I'd cover it just in case. So the ADEA is the American Dental Education Association, and they're just the group that created the application. Now, the AADSAS, it stands for the American Association of Dental Schools Application Service. Now, what does that mean? That, simply put, is just the application service that you have to use in order to apply to dental school. It's nice because you only need to fill out this one application that's standardized, and then you can send it to all the different schools. And so it's just somewhere that you can put all of your information in one centralized location, and it's easy. The only exception to that rule is if you're going to Texas. If you're going to go to a Texas school, then you have this other application service called the TMDSAS, the Texas Medical and Dental Schools Application Service, and you'll have to fill that one out. Alright, so going right into the application process, the first thing you want to do is obviously create an account. So once you click on that Create an Account button right in the middle of your screen, you'll come up to this page. This page, you'll have your information, so the contact info, your name, the terms and conditions you got to agree to, make your password, username, all that good stuff, just to make the account. Once you've done that, then it's going to take you to this page, the My Application page. On this, there's a lot of things to look at. So you have personal information, academic history, supporting information, and program materials. So to start off, we'll go to the personal information. In this section, it's kind of a boring section to fill out, to be honest, but it's got to be done. So here in personal information, you'll find the biographic information, contact info again. You'll talk about your parents or guardians, race, ethnicity, all that good stuff. The only part that I found interesting and kind of fun to fill out is in the other information section. So the first thing is the new section that I talked about in the beginning of this video. In this section, you can talk about how the virus affected your academic, professional, and or private life. I guess a good thing to note is that each school may or may not take this into consideration. I'm sure this is just a case-by-case basis. But if this virus, really affected you, it would be worth noting. The other section is manual dexterity. So with this section, you get to talk about your hand skills and your experience with your hand skills in the past. Now this could be maybe you were a dental assistant in the past, you could mention that. It lists some things on this little description of manual dexterity here. It says activities requiring hand-eye coordination such as cross-stitching, sewing, arts, crafts, musical instruments, auto repairs, etc. So for me, I put my experience with sports and music. Sports, I played football, I had played basketball, I played baseball, which obviously all require a good amount of hand-eye coordination and dexterity. And then my music, I played piano and guitar, which also obviously require hand-eye coordination and manual dexterity. So just think about what activities you've done in your life or some hobbies that you may have that require hand-eye coordination and manual dexterity. Alright, we're back at the home screen. I think it's worth noting that if you ever get lost on this application, then you can always just go back to that top left corner where it says My Application. That tab will always bring you back to this home screen. So if you ever get lost or you're like, oh no, what do I do? Then just click that button and you'll get back to this home screen. But anyways, the next section that we're going to talk about is the academic history section. So this section is another one that's not all that exciting. You just kind of fill in your academic info. So some things that you'll have to talk about are your high school attendance, really just what high school you went to, and then the colleges and universities that you went to. Your transcript will be entered here, and then your standardized tests, specifically the DAT. So if we go into the transcript entry tab in this section, then you'll go into the part that obviously you enter your transcript. So this is a really important section because you need to make sure that as you're adding these grades and your classes, that everything is accurate. You'll have an option to do it by hand, or you can pay the system to just do it for you. Both seem to be fine. I did it by hand. I think it was a waste of money, honestly, to not do it by hand because it's really not that hard. It just takes a little bit of time. Moving on to the supporting information section. This section is way more interesting, and this is where the bulk of your application really comes from. Here you're going to be able to talk about your letters of recommendation, which in the application they just call evaluations. You'll be able to talk about your experiences, your achievements, licenses, the personal statement. Obviously, you're probably going to recognize a lot of these things. You've probably heard about them before. These are all really important pieces to the application. So if we click on the Evaluations tab, you're going to find the spot that lets you put in these letters of recommendation that you're going to need to obtain. Now, each school has different requirements with what letters they want. So what do I mean by that? I mean, some schools may say, I want a letter of recommendation from one dentist and one science professor, while another one might say, I want a letter of recommendation from a dentist and a non-science professor. Another one might say, I want 2 science professors, 1 non-science professor, and your employer. So all these schools might have different requirements, and it's your job to look at each school's requirements that you want to apply to, so you can make sure that you cover all of the bases that you need to cover. For example, for me, I ended up submitting 5 letters of recommendation. I had 1 dentist, I had 2 science professors, I had 1 non-science professor who also happened to be the professor in charge of my research during my undergrad experience, and also my employer. So for me, that was what I needed to apply to all my schools, and so I went and talked to my advisor to figure out, how can I do this? How can I make this work, or can I make this work? And the answer was luckily yes, I can make it work. And this is how. If you read that first sentence in the evaluations section, it says, create your evaluation request below. You may enter a maximum of 4 individual evaluation requests. And that's where most people stop. They just say, oh, cool, I can get 4 letters of recommendation, sweet, and they go leave. But if you keep reading, it says, or 1 individual and 1 committee request. So that's what I did. I went and talked. Luckily, my undergrad school had a Predental advisor, and so I went and talked to them about how to get this committee request, and they basically just did it for me. All I had to do was get the professors that I wanted a letter from, and then tell them to send it to the Predental advisor. And so the way that thing works is that you get 4 letters all crammed into that 1 committee request, and then you also add 1 other as your 1 individual letter. So it's kind of confusing. I probably didn't explain it that well, but it's really not that hard, and it's a way to get an extra letter. Now, it is worth noting that all of these letters that you're getting from your professors and the dentist and whoever else, they're going to be sent to every school. So do not tell your professor you're going to this one specific dental school and then have them write about how much you love that university and how great it's going to be and how they're so excited and hope that you'll accept them and blah blah blah. But then they send it to the next school as well, and the rival school, and whatever else. That's not going to look good when you say how much you love the University of Minnesota when the University of New England is the one reading it. So you just want to make sure that these things are all focused on your academic achievements, your participation in class, all of that kind of stuff. Keep it on a broad level, and the professors will know what you need. I'm sure most of them have done it before. You're not going to be the first dental student out of your school, most likely. Or at the very least, you're not the first person asking for a letter of recommendation from them. Well, that's all I've got for you in part 1 of this series. If you want to see part 2 of the AADSAS tutorial, where I will tell you about a shortcut for repeat applicants, tips on how to convince the admissions committee to accept you, and how to find out if you actually got into dental school, then click on the video here. If you liked the tips that I shared, please like this video and comment below with how your application process is going so far. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next one.